In this video, I am adding a button extension. So you may prefer to familiarize yourself with the waistband extension video first, as well as sewing buttonholes. You may also need a decent understanding of actually making trousers before this video may become something that you can use. And you can find my accompanying construction series, button and buttonhole videos in the description. As with making an angled waistband, we need the left and right banrol canvas. I already have the right canvas for the bearer, so I take my other length. If I lay it down with the bias tape on top facing it away from me, then I know I want the right hand side of the canvas. I need to cut away some of the banrol and replace it with linen. Therefore, I measure about 5 to 8 centimeters of the canvas and cut that away without cutting the bias tape, cutting the canvas all the way off and picking out the stitching from the bias tape. We need a piece of linen exactly as wide as the canvas, but a few centimeters longer so that it can overlap, just like attaching two pieces of banrol, link in the description. I'm placing and machining the linen onto the banrol in much the same way. Lining up the linen to the canvas, starting at the tape and making a stitch along the tape of the banrol, turning at the top towards the edge of the linen, sewing back towards the tape along the raw edge, turning a last time to sew the tape down to the linen. At this stage, we apply the cloth to the canvas in much the same way as normal. When using a striped cloth, it is very important to ensure a consistent stripe is lined up to the edge of the canvas, and that it's the same on both, so it's specifically at the center back the stripes line up nicely. Similarly, when pulling the cloth over the canvas, that the cloth is pulled over the canvas consistently. Last important thing to prepare the waistband is to apply some fusing to the approximate area that the button will be over the linen. At which point we finish preparing the waistband in whichever way you happen to prefer. Like a normal extension, we have to decide how long we'd like the extension. I want about 8 centimeters, so I need that plus seam allowance. I make a mark, that mark, on the waistband. From the mark, measuring half the waist measurement along the waistband to mark on the total width. Applying the mark nearer the linen to the center front fold. I don't give this trouser any ease in the waistband, so I'm just pinning it down. As well as this, I'm using a method where I press the front trouser seam allowance and inlay into the front trouser, not the waistband. So it's a little different to the original, but not in a way that affects making the button extension. With the waistband sewn on, which I didn't wholly need to show, get to the stage where you'd apply the catch-ons and where we're lining the trouser. Before putting on the hook, I need to finish the front edge of the extension. measuring the length I want, cutting the linen away beyond that point, and folding and basting the cloth down at the point to finish the edge. We could also make a point with the waistband, the ideal points being half that of the width of the banrol. Be sure still to cut away the linen beyond both edges of said point. With a piece of waistband lining that extends to a little beyond the center front, line up a seam at the bottom edge of the front. Place this onto the extension. To cover it, begin basting along the bottom, ideally without knotting the thread, towards the front. Basting up the front edge, folding down the top edge to a little below the top of the waistband. At this point, we can put the hook on and the rest of the waistband lining. And at some stage before we get to finishing, we have to prepare the buttonhole. It's already basted, so I'm chalking out the hole. Obviously, I want it in the middle of the waistband. I want it half the width of the waistband from the frontmost point. I can take the button I want to use to mark the width, but 90% of the time it'll be about 5/8 of an inch, 15mm here. And I have a video on sewing buttonholes and buttons, so I'll leave you here to finish your trouser.